Good morning. Welcome to Portland Culinary Radio's first Great Food, Great Stories podcast. I'm Stephen Shelma, your host, here with Ken Wilson, my co-host, the ultimate culinary wingman. Good morning, Ken.
Was that my new title, the ultimate culinary wing? I can't even say it. Ultimate culinary wingman. You had to pick one hard to say.
Yes, ultimate culinary wingman. Wait till you find out you're one for the Portland Beer podcast. That's even better.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, because you drive me to drink.
Oh, great.
He does. All right, so let's get started. I am so excited for our first episode ever. One of my Portland culinary heroes is here. The reason I'm sitting here, Rick Gencarelli, founder of Lardo and Grassa. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
So I'm so excited to get to tell your story, for Ken and I to do that, because your story is amazing. Your food is incredible. You've got 5 restaurants currently right here in Portland.
Yep.
So Ken, do you remember the first time that you had a Lardo fries, dirty fries?
Wow, I think it was a shooting day over there at, when he was, what was it, 42nd at Belmont over there?
Yeah, 43rd and Good Food Here.
Yeah, Good Food Here. We went there to shoot something. And,
Yeah, the last
I got
day- the
Lardo.
the
last day
day
it
of
was
his-
actually open. That's right.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, we went the last day of his cart, so that was pretty amazing.
By the way, they were really, really good.
Yeah, your food, oh my gosh, it's off the hook. It's amazing. That's why it's called Great Food, Great Stories. If someone makes great food, it's a great story. We'll put them on the podcast.
Thank you.
Okay, so for those that don't know, you opened Lardo as a food cart. You moved to Portland from Vermont and opened Lardo in in the fall of 2010.
Yes.
And it was then, a month later, that I showed up and ate there, which we'll get into that. And then from there, from 2010 till now 2016, you've grown into 5 restaurants.
Yep.
So you're like a culinary, just amazement, the stuff you've put together. And the food is always, always really, really good.
Thank you.
So what I want to know is how did that happen? Where did you come from? So where were you born?
I was born in Yonkers, New York. Beautiful Yonkers, New York.
Yonkers, New York. And where'd you grow up?
And I moved out of Yonkers when I was about 5th grade age, which I don't know what that is, but I, moved to Greenwich, Connecticut for better schools, better life. Single working mom, and I had a twin sister, and we just wanted to, have some green lawn, and so grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Greenwich, Connecticut. Okay, so when did you start cooking? Or what was your first job in the restaurant business?
My first job was when I was 15. I took a job as a busboy in a Chinese restaurant called Lotus East in my Greenwich, Connecticut, and that was my entry into the restaurant business, and I never looked back.
Did that resonate with you? Did you like it?
Yeah, I loved it. It was very liberating for me because I wasn't a very good student because I didn't sit still or pay attention, and the frenetic energy of a place like a restaurant was just suited for my style. I was always on my feet. I was always doing something, clearing tables, pouring water, and the off chance I got to hang out in the kitchen with the owner's brother. That was just even better because then they had the music cranking and they had giant wok stations and people were screaming, and I was just like, I can't believe that you get to work in an environment like this. This is something that I have to find out how I get into this.
So for some people, the badness of a professional kitchen, they can't handle it. But for you, it sounds like it was energizing.
Yeah, it was perfect. Yeah, it was relaxing. I was so terrified of having to sit at a desk. In my mind, I thought that, well, that's what happens. You get a job, you sit at a desk, and I was like, well, I'm never going to be able to do that. I'm just going to be homeless because I'm not going to function in an environment where I'm in a cubicle. And so, thank God, found the restaurant, or maybe it found me. I don't know, but it's always been fun. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like, even at its worst, you get to wake up and sort of start all over again. Like, we had a horrible service and we really screwed up a lot of things, and you get to wake up and just kind of wipe the slate clean and say today's going to be a better day. It's sort of it's very task oriented. I think that's why I love it.
So you found your calling at 15.
Yeah, you could say that, I guess. And I did a lot of things afterwards, but it was always in some form of hospitality.
Okay, so you then you went back to high school. You graduated Greenwich High School, correct?
Yes, I did. Just barely.
Just barely. And then what did you do after college?
I went to I went to Block Island for a little while. I worked there. I was a waiter. I was a prep cook. I was a dishwasher. I really loved it there. And then I moved to Boston. Met a girl, moved to Boston, and I took a job running like a corporate caterer. A sort of a food service company that did upscale companies. Harvard Law and Bain and Company and Kennedy School, all that stuff. So I did that for a while, and then the bottom fell out of the economy. I lost my job and decided that I'm going to go to culinary school. I'm going to finally legitimize my career and pursue cooking. I was 25. I went to
So how many years
CIA.
of professional cooking experience did you have up until that point, roughly?
Well, if you added it all up, not a whole lot, but enough so that the people at CIA.
Well, not cooking, but working in the restaurant business.
Probably 5 or 6 years.
So what made you decide to go to, why choose culinary school? Because that's always, some people ask, should I go to culinary school? Why
I don't
did you
know.
want to?
It was it was like an epiphany. I just decided that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to learn, and I'm going to take it seriously. I felt like for the first time in my life, I was able to, re-enter into an academic world and be successful because it was something that I truly, truly had a passion for. So I wanted to see if I was capable of starting something and finishing it and doing well with it, in an academic setting,
And did you like it? Did you thrive?
I loved it. Oh yeah, I loved every bit of it. I mean, I was a sponge. I just loved it every day because being 25 and going back to school was, for me, that was probably the right time for me to go to any school, because at 18 I was a mess. So, it wouldn't have mattered what I did when I was 18. I think I would have just,
So you
been an
put
idiot.
yourself on ice for a little while on Block Island there and hung out until you matured a little, right?
Yeah, I recommend it. I have 2 boys now, 12 and 14. My oldest starts high school next year, and I'm sort of like, I'm worried. I want him to do better, but I also see that there are a few paths to get to the idea of happiness and success.
So if one of your kids took a couple years off after high school, before college, to kind of find themselves, and then went to a school or a college for what they'd found they loved, that's okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of people put pressure on people to go right now, and they aren't necessarily ready.
Yeah, but I have a different lens for that. I'll probably have a fight with my wife over it, but.
Well, you've done all right, but I understand the flip side. Some people, they don't go to college, they never go, so
right.
there is that risk. But
right.
You're a good dad. I think your kids will be in good hands.
Thank you.
So, what did you learn? What was most helpful to you, looking back, that you learned at culinary school? What's the skill that you've carried with you the most?
I don't think it's any one skill. I think it was a foundation. I think what I needed was the skill development was really crucial to me, like having the confidence to walk into a kitchen and know, how to work, how to be disciplined, and how to, having the sort of classical background. I think knowing the classic sauces and techniques is really important. Yeah, I think culinary school was good for me. I don't recommend it. I don't sort of recommend it blindly. I think everyone's different, and I think you could get an incredible education in walking into the back door of a kitchen and getting a job. You can learn everything you need to know. For me, I wanted to approach it, very seriously, and I wanted to have those doors immediately open for me because I knew I was a little older, so I wanted to have an advantage so that when my resume hit the desk, it was CIA grad, with some awesome, stuff on it. So.
And that leads us to your externship. So before you graduated from CIA, they ship you off. You work somewhere else for about how long?
5 months.
For 5 months, and then you go back to school, finish up, and graduate.
Right.
So where was your 5-month externship?
At a restaurant called Aqua in San Francisco.
And who was making Aqua happen?
George Maroney, madman, and his sidekick Michael Mina, who now, of course, Michael Mina's gone on to just be a powerhouse. But at the time, Aqua was in its second year, and they were on fire. Super busy, super delicious, buying and cooking more foie gras than any restaurant in the country at the time. Here I was, I had no experience like this. I mean, walking into that kitchen was just terrifying, because I just felt like I just don't belong here. I'm not good enough. I'm just a student. These guys are going to kill me, and they almost did. It was very old school. George and Michael came up in that sort of in the world of New York. Charlie Palmer, David Burke. They were really real disciplinarians. Very, very tough places to work.
It's a tough place to work the line, I bet.
Yep. Yeah, it was stressful, but I learned a ton. I felt like every day I just went to battle. It was just like I have to survive. I have to do my best, not get things thrown at me, not get kicked out. And after 5 months, I started to get my footing, and I really made friends there. And they tried to talk me into staying, but and I was very tempted to just blow off my last 10 months of culinary school. But better judgment got the best of me, and I went back, finished up.
So you graduate culinary school then?
Yep.
Excellent. You made it. You survived. You
Yep.
started something and you finished it.
I did.
That's fantastic. So now what? Culinary school's over. What is Rick Gencarelli going to do?
So, from my time in Boston, I had been exposed to a restaurant called Olives, a chef owner named Todd English, and he basically blew me away. It kind of changed my idea of what food could really taste like, and he was the first guy I'd ever seen that was just using, all fire in his kitchen, wood-fired grill, wood-fired oven, wood-fired rotisserie. The smell of the place, you could smell it for blocks. I lived in the neighborhood, and I would come home from work and just get intoxicated by the fumes coming out of the place. I just had to eat there, so I did a lot, and decided that I'd give him a call.
Wait. So you were a fan of his. You didn't know him.
Didn't know him.
But you were a fan because you had enjoyed food at his restaurant.
Yes.
So you graduate. So you just pick up the phone and call him.
Yeah, I called the restaurant, and I asked to speak to Todd, and through some miracle, they actually put him on the phone, and I'm like, geez, yeah, so I'm interested in working for you, and it was pretty easy. He said, come on down this weekend. So I drove from New York to Boston, and they put me on the line, just working the brick oven. It was amazing. I didn't want it to end. It was like, I was in heaven.
So he's a culinary hero of yours. You graduate culinary school. You call him up. He says, "Yeah, I'll hire you. Come on down."
Yeah.
Do you know how incredible that is, right?
Yeah, I mean, I at the time I just couldn't believe it was happening. I just felt so lucky. So that I stayed with him for 4 years.
And
I worked every station in the kitchen. He made me a sous chef, and then I was just kind of like, this is awesome.
Years ago, I ate at Olives in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful, just right there. You can look at the view of the water. I got right on the rail and was looking out over it. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So you're with Todd English, and then where'd you go from there?
So I met Sheila, my now wife. We decided that it was time to explore things beyond Boston. It was time to move, and we somehow ended up driving across country and relocating in San Francisco. And that's when I worked at a place called Rubicon, no longer there. And then I shortly after that I took a job with George Maroney again because I wanted more punishment. And he at the time was a chef at a place called One Market. That's still there. Worked for him, and then it's sort of San Francisco wasn't working out for us for many reasons. My mom was sick back in Connecticut. Sheila wasn't loving her job. It just all things kind of pointed back to the East Coast. And then I got a call from Todd, and he told me he was doing a project in Westport, Connecticut. So I was like, well, that's the last bit of the puzzle. We don't really need to think about moving back. We're just going to go because this is another great opportunity. So
Because family's there, all of your family's there, your wife's
my family, Sheila's family,
and you get to go
my
back
old
and work
boss.
for Todd English.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes when people leave a boss, they don't want to go back. So he must have been a pretty good boss.
Yeah, those were great years. I mean, the opportunities, the traveling, the learning, was just fabulous. You know, he was just he just never stopped. You know, he just kept going and going and going. He was just tireless. He would just work from early in the morning to late at night, and he would just beat himself up. And I think, you know, it was a little too much at one point, but he just, it was amazing. And that he could still jump on the line and just outcook everyone and create food that was still amazing was, for me, that's what kept me coming back. Yeah.
So Westport, Connecticut, what restaurant did you go back for?
It was called Miramar, and it was on the Saugatuck River in Westport. Very nice place. And I did that for about a year, and then he asked me if I wanted to go to New York City and do the open the Olives restaurant in the W Hotel in Union Square, which to me is just, you know, that's like climbing the mountain. Being a chef in New York City to me was the height of my career in a lot of ways. You know, I mean, there's different heights for different things, but
Yeah, now here I thought it was having a food cart in Portland, but
Yeah.
I can see how
But-
opening the Olives in Union Square would be a little more of a
Yeah.
greater accomplishment.
I mean, yeah, all these kind of, you know, little landmarks are all great for different reasons. I learned, you know, so many things at so many places, but that to check that one off of the list was for me such a great accomplishment. And
Probably a big fulfillment, like a dream come true.
yeah, it was very exciting living there and working there. Even though I grew up very close to New York City, just living there and you know, getting into that grind and experiencing New York City every day was to me the most exciting thing, because you know it's just like no 2 days are ever alike. You know, you just wake up and you get on the subway and you're ready for whatever New York's going to give you.
Okay, and then from there you ended up at the inn at Shelburne Farms.
Yep. Moved out of New York City shortly after 9/11. We had a 2-year-old son. We had another boy on the way, or we didn't know, well, but Sheila had another baby on the way. And we decided it was time to you know, get out of the city and you know, get a better place to raise our kids and a little more sanity. Yeah, Burlington, Vermont, Shelburne, Vermont.
And what'd you do there at the inn?
I was a chef. Yeah, I was a chef at a restaurant on a property that was over 100 years old, and it was owned by the Vanderbilts and the Webbs. Back in the day, this was their vacation home, and it was an amazing property. 8 acres of produce that was grown and cultivated just for my use.
That's truly farm to table.
Yeah, I mean that was really an experience that changed the way I cooked and looked at food.
I guess you can't get more local than the field outside the kitchen.
Exactly. Or to be able to sit down with the grower and say, this is what I want planted. And then to go to the field and pull it out of the ground and say, well, the leeks are, you know, I want them the size of Sharpies. You know what I mean? And have them brought to your door. It's just, yeah, that'll spoil a chef, you know. Not to mention pigs, which we raised on the farm. We got farmstead cheddar from one herd of brown Swiss cows. We had a sugar house that produced about 100 gallons of maple syrup every season. Yeah, very exciting. Very exciting. But after 6 years in Vermont, we decided that you know, it was great. It was great for the time. The kids were, you know, in a place where they were happy, but we, as adults, were feeling a little compromised in terms of the things that we love, because, you know, Sheila and I, when we met, we were eating delicious food, and there was you know, live music and a little more activity. You know, we wanted something a little more, but we didn't want to go back to Boston. We didn't want to go back to New York City. You know, that was not appealing to us.
So you're going to move. What were some of the cities on your list of potential places to go?
We thought about Portland, Maine. Then we figured, well, that's just a tiny little step up from where we were in Vermont. There's more going on, but it's not the big, you know, it's not, it was more of a lateral move than really.
What are some other cities that you considered?
I think Portland, Oregon was like,
That was it.
we're going to go check it out. And if we don't like Portland, then we're kind of screwed, because we didn't really know where to go.
So did you come out here for a weekend?
Yeah, a weekend. We got my sister to watch the kids, and Sheila and I hopped on a plane. We stayed right downtown I think we stayed at the Hotel Lucia. and we did all of the things. Like I watch people now, as tourists, they come into Lardo. Lardo's on their list. We had a list. It was it was Voodoo Donuts and Stumptown Coffee and Le Pigeon and Beast and Porque No. It was a very typical sort of like list of food things. And we also we ran around the Willamette in the morning. We went for our run and we explored. It was really cool. We went to Secret Society and had Moscow mules. We ate at Toro. We ate a lot in a long weekend.
Did you go to food carts?
We went to food carts. Yeah, we went to the whole bowl. We primarily downtown.
Right.
The Ninth and Alder situation, and and it was like we had never seen anything like that. Streets full of food carts to us was just like, what is going on? This is amazing.
So what made you decide you're going to move to Portland then? You have a culinary background. You've opened restaurants in New York City and all over the country. What the heck made you decide to do a food cart?
Well, it wasn't part of the plan at all. I mean, I moved here without a plan. Thank God Sheila has a great profession where she can move around a lot and help us land on our feet. She's a pharmacist, very marketable, and so she got a job before we got here, and that gave me the freedom to just kind of like figure things out, and I just knew that I didn't want to work for anyone else. I was at a point in my career and at an age where I think like going in and taking a sous chef job was not an option, or running someone else's kitchen wasn't an option. I just had to I wanted to be in business for myself, but I had no friends here. I had no money. So it was grim, you know what I mean? But I started stalking Kurt Huffman because he had just launched a thing called Chef's Table, which it intrigued me because it sounded like something that was perfect for me. Here's somebody that'll take care of all the back end stuff and let you cook and be the operations guy, but not have to worry about all of the things that would crush you as a sole operator. Paying your taxes, paying your bills, negotiating a lease, and just generally having that sort of business muscle behind you that a lot of chefs either don't have the skill set for or don't have the interest in doing. So I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh, it was Sheila's idea to open a food cart.
It was.
Yeah, I credit her with that. She worked across the street from that 43rd and Belmont. She once a week she was at a Providence facility there for a meeting or something. She kept telling me that this 43rd and Belmont thing is growing. That every time I go down there every week, there's another cart there, and it looks really cool. And we should go down and have some food and just talk to some of the owners. And I was like, oh no, that's sounds terrible. But we got to talking to this. I think it was I can't remember the name of it. It was a blue French truck that served delicious food. And she told us everything. She was very forthcoming and friendly and really sweet. And she told us like what the rent was and what you could expect to do in sales and how much propane costs. She just gave me all of the dope on food cart world, at least in
right.
her environment. And so I took that all back with me, and then I decided that was going to be my re-entry into cooking was going to be via an 8x10. Kitchen in a little house.
So where did the name Lardo come from?
Lardo was just a name that was stuck in the back of my head. It was just originally in my vision of it was a like an Italian wine bar in the Lower East Side. I figured if I was going to stay in New York City, that I would do a project like that really appealed to me, and I wanted to call it Lardo because I thought that really told a story. It's a delicious fat. It's Italian. It's kind of like it kind of lets you know what you're getting into before you go, right? And it's also a little sort of irreverent. It's a little kind of.
I still have pictures of the praise the lard that you would have on the cart.
Yeah, people. They really responded to the name. I was a little worried, for obvious reasons. It sounds kind of polarizing. Like you're not going to get the yoga moms or the healthy people, but
it's not exactly a vegan cart.
It's not exactly a vegan cart, but it was, it wasn't all just sort of like punch you in the gut with fat. It was, I thought,
He was punch you in the mouth with flavor is what it was.
yeah, yeah. So I guess I might have, I was afraid that the name was going to mislead, but it's Portland, so they embraced it, and yeah, we got a lot of attention. It was fun because for a little cart, we were getting some press and we were getting some buzz around it, and that's when I felt like I had developed or had established my name a little here. It was time to start looking for next steps.
So right when the cart opens, and you have friends that are chefs, and you tell them, "Hey, I'm going to open a food cart."
Yeah.
What did they say? Did they think you were nuts? Did they support you? What kind of response you get from your colleagues?
It was mixed. It was mostly just them laughing at me. But then, yeah, the funny thing is, 2 years later, those same guys were calling me up, asking me, how you did it. And, I'm thinking about doing it too. I'm going to move my family out of New York, or I'm going to move my family out of Boston. Thinking about maybe doing a cart. Can you give me some information? It's like, oh, man, you guys made fun of me.
But,
So
I tell food counters, I teach them, don't start a food cart, don't start a food truck, start a brand with a plan to grow the brand.
yeah, that's good advice.
Because if you don't, within 2 or 3 years, you just don't make enough money with one truck or one cart. Usually, you have to grow it. Either have a fleet of them, or go brick and mortar,
Yeah.
or sell product like Cajun Life sells their seasoning now across the country.
Yep.
You are the prime example of that. Did you have a plan? Were you like within a certain time frame, I'm going to do something?
The only plan I had was that I can't do this for more than 2 years maximum. Hopefully a year to a year and a half. But when I hit the 2-year mark, I'm gonna get a job. Like I owe it to my family, my wife, who was basically supporting us for those years, while I built a brand, hoping that it would get traction and it would stick. But in the event that it didn't amount to a pile of anything, I was just going to go get a job because that's what you do, right? You don't suffer on a cart and let your wife, just do all the heavy lifting while you.
But within 2
make
years, you had a
sandwiches.
brand, and you opened the first Lardo there at 12th and Hawthorne, right?
Yes, we found this great. Well, I mean, we didn't find it; it was there, and everybody kind of looked at it. It's prime. It used to be Johnny B's. Before that, it was a Winchell's Donut. In the '60s, it was a gas station. So perfect little, old diner on 12th and Hawthorne, right across the street from another famous food cart pod, Cartopia. And so, yeah, a little 1,200 square foot space, but we decided to do away with the parking lot and turn it into a giant beer garden. 100 seats out there. It's covered in the winter, and right now the top's off. And
It's a great place to have I know you do really well. You have a lot of good craft beers, local Oregon craft beers there. But I have to tell you, I love the cocktails. You have amazing cocktails.
Oh,
at
thank
Lardo.
you.
I like to have a cocktail, then have my meal with my beer.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, the cocktails are definitely sort of take a back seat to our 18 handles of beer, but they're delicious and they're a great option for the non-beer drinking.
Now, you mentioned Cartopia, so I'm curious. Ken and I love Chicken and Guns.
Yeah.
Ken, you remember Chicken and Guns? You've been there?
Yeah, I've been there. Yes, I think I discovered it almost.
So what is your have you been to Chicken and Guns?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I picked up chicken there a couple of times. It's so convenient for me because I just run over and I get the chicken and take it home, and it's delicious.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
All right, so you go from there. You have your first Lardo, then you do your second Lardo right after the fall,
Yep, went downtown. Yeah, that was a big move.
and then in 2013 you do Grassa. So what's Grassa for those that don't know?
Grassa is a counter service, sort of a fast casual pasta concept, handmade pasta. We have an extruder that does our semolina dough. We have handmade egg pasta as well. It's sort of our sort of answer to the hole in the pasta industry where there's a lot of sort of lower end family style places, and then there's a lot of higher end expensive places, and then nothing really in the middle where you can take the kids but you can still be in a cool environment, listen to good music, and have delicious food. We focus on the quality of the pasta and the freshness, and it's the price point is really great. And we're able to do that because it's a counter. We don't have a lot of frills. It's communal seating. You stand in line. There's a lot of sort of inconveniences, but we hope that, the the quality of the food and the price point sort of helps balance things out.
So if I'm going to go take Ken on a date, go to Grassa. He loves when I say
that's
that.
nice.
He's shaking his head.
It's cute.
So, and I'm going to get him. What's the one dish I should get him? What would you say? Hey, Ken, try this one.
Well, I'm sort of a purist when it comes to I love the Sunday pork ragu with rigatoni. That's like my childhood taste memory, and I would get that. I love the carbonara too. House-made guanciale, pancetta and egg. Oh, that's a delicious dish.
I've had that dish. It's amazing.
I love that. And the aglio olio, I would say for me, the rigatoni with the Sunday ragu, the pork ragu, and the aglio olio are things that I just grew up. That was just what you ate. If there was nothing in the house, and you always had pasta, you always had garlic and olive oil, and you were eating.
For those that don't know, what's the ali?
It just means garlic and oil.
Garlic and oil, which is very simple.
In an Italian household, literally, there's always garlic, olive oil, and pasta. You're never going to go hungry. You're never going to die. So my mother went to that a lot.
Okay, so then you opened Lardo North in 2013, and you just opened the second Grassa out on Northwest 23rd this spring.
Yes.
So 5 restaurants, all from a cart in the fall of 2010.
Yes.
What's one of the things you've learned opening those 5 restaurants? If someone said, I want to duplicate that, what's a lesson you would pass on to them?
Oh man, It's tough. I think. I don't know. I think. Be humble, work hard, and it sounds very trite, but all those things are so important when you're doing this. Treat customers and employees and vendors with a tremendous amount of respect, and they'll support you, and they'll hopefully follow you into a burning building. You know what I mean? That's the kind of team I want to build. People that are happy and want to do what they're doing, and I want to be actively involved in it. And I think smart growth is something that, you could look at 5 restaurants in as many years and think it's crazy, but from the inside, we're growing as fast as we have the people to put in those places. I wouldn't open a joint if I didn't have the guy that I need to run it. Grassa 2 exists because Sam Javna was ready to run his own store. And the same with the Lardos. We don't build and then find the guy. We have the guy, and then we already kind of, point him out as the next person to run a store.
So, and a restaurant is a startup. People don't think of it that way, but a restaurant is a startup. It's a culinary startup.
Yeah.
A lot of startups fail. You've succeeded. You've probably seen a lot of restaurants fail in your time.
I have.
What's one of the biggest reasons that a restaurant startup fails?
Underfunded. Some level of incompetence. I think there's a lot of people that think it's going to be fun and glamorous, and a lot of times it really sucks. When you're mopping up a broken pipe leaking all over the floor, or it's the middle of the night and you're waiting for the guy to fix the walk-in, or you have to rent a truck. And, there's a million things that can go wrong, and they usually do, and they usually cost you a lot of money. So, yeah, you just have to go into it with your eyes wide open and knowing that you're going to work your ass off, and be okay with that. I also think that Lardo and Grassa opened at a time when counter service restaurants were being really embraced, because I think our timing was really good. Fine dining is sort of taking a little bit of a back seat. People are spending less, but they still want quality, especially in Portland. There is that sort of need for delicious, high quality food, but I don't want a white tablecloth, and I don't want to have 3 waiters, and I don't want to pay $140 for it. So you take a chef-driven sandwich shop and a pasta joint, and you keep the prices low and the deliciousness high, and somehow it works. I don't know. I don't have the magic formula. I wake up every day with the feeling that someone's going to pull the rug out from me, and I'm going to be back in the cart. But
no, I don't think so. Food's too good. So another cool thing you do is your Chef Witch program.
Yeah. That started a few years ago, and that was really just driven by my selfish need for to stay connected to other chefs. Because sometimes, as a fine dining background, for me, I sometimes I feel a little isolated, and so I reached out to my friends and said, you know, do you want to put a sandwich on the menu for a month? Whatever you want, we work together on it. We put it on the menu, and we donate, 10% of the proceeds to a charity of your choice.
And you do you do restaurants, you do food carts. You've done Han with Gencarelli.
Yep.
And so the chef creates the sandwich.
Yeah, I ask for no fewer than 2 ideas and as many as you want to give me, and then based on the menu that we're running at Lardo at the time, based on cost, based on how we can produce it for 3 shops. Because, I mean, you take a sandwich like Aaron Barnett's, Pretty Penny Fried Chicken, and we sold an average of 108 of those a day for a month. It was just astounding, right? So we have to make sure that we can produce those in the shops at a volume that, we can handle, or, that might, we don't want to, we can't kill ourselves trying to make some kind of something that doesn't work, at that scale. So, we've reached
But then you
out
benefit
to
a charity as well.
Yeah, so leaving that up to the chefs has been really fun too, because we get to be connected to so many different nonprofits that are all doing such amazing work. And between the chef and Lardo and the nonprofit, there's a really great sort of triumvirate there of people, and that's been really fun.
I think it's amazing how you connect to the community. And in one sense, you're almost, in my head, a patron saint of food carts. Want to go brick and mortar? Because I always hear behind the scenes, Pulihu Pizza is now gone brick and mortar because of Rick. Wild Hunt. I just had Wild Hunt on my radio show, and they spilled the beans that they wouldn't be where they're at if Rick hadn't called and said, "Hey, make this happen."
Yeah, you can refer to me as Saint Rick. I like that. I think that's sure.
Yeah, so I just as someone who loves food cart owners, I think that's great that you're always kind of like, hey, try this, try that. You're not always, you look out for more than just you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for recognizing that. I think that's I really enjoy it. You know what I mean? I love connecting. I love getting people out of their carts or into a situation where they're going to do well. You know what I mean? The Viking Soul people they're just great humans. And
Yes,
the
Megan and Jeremy are amazing.
Yeah, and
Annabelle at Pulihu is fantastic. Yeah. So, what about as we close? Any hopes? You got any other concepts rattling around in your head? Yeah, I love Lardo. You think Lardo? Ever thought about taking Lardo to other parts of the country?
Yeah. It's always it's growth outside of Portland is always something that we've thought about, and always something that we get approached to do projects outside of Portland, but again, I want to make sure it's smart. I want to make sure it's a direct flight.
So that could happen. It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because people don't realize how good the food is in Portland until they travel somewhere else.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, there's amazing food, but I actually would kill for McMenamins here. At least I can get a burger that I like. You know, and even McMenamins are like, oh, I wish I had that somewhere else. So having a Lardo in a different place, I'd like, okay, now I know I can get a great meal there when I travel to that city.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, here's the deal. Lardo was sort of always by design built to scale up, built to grow, because I think that's how it survives.
Okay. Any other concepts? Like you've done pasta, you've done the chef-driven amazing sandwiches. So any other thing? Maybe in the next 10 years you're kind of rattling around. I know chefs love to create. That's why they do specials.
Yeah, I mean, a few things nag at me once in a while. I miss being in the arena of fine dining. I mean, I say fine dining, but I don't mean fancy dining. I mean full service and a little more, plated. I guess I yearn for that sometimes. A New England seafood concept is something that I really I miss that about Cape Cod, Block Island, where I grew up. I miss the excitement of just like a clam shack, you know what I mean, with delicious fried clams and chowder and
a lobster
like
roll. I love me a good lobster roll.
Yeah, who doesn't? So I don't know. I think that's just something that those are just ideas, and if it works out, I'd love to try. I'd love to try something like that. I'd also love to try like a sort of a southern Italian sort of eatery, red sauce and stuffed clams and cannoli, you know, something that just, those were the restaurants I grew up eating in, and I think that's missing here. Just a red checker tablecloth place that, you know, you can just roll up your sleeves and have, you know, shrimp fra diavolo and a cheap glass of wine, you know, so something that I think about a lot.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to see. Portland is so blessed and better off that you're here.
Thank you so much.
I just want to, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next 10 years. And then just as we close, I've mentioned this story before, but 2011, I decided to start up my life, to reboot my life, and bootstrap my way to a better life. And left corporate banking, and I decided I'm going to be a speaker, I'm going to be an author, and I'm going to be part of the Portland culinary scene. And I didn't know anybody. And 4 years later, 2005, I was self-employed, or 2015, I'm self-employed, and you can buy my books at Powell's, and I am part of the Portland culinary scene in ways that really, as a storyteller, I love to do it. And, truthfully, none of that would have happened without you. And I am super, super grateful for that. My friend Adam, 2010, made me go to a food cart. Kind of blew my mind. Went to Portland Soup Company. I couldn't figure it out. The next week, he made me go to Lardo. We're sitting there at a picnic table, and I'd started a couple websites and thought I'll be a writer someday, even though I hate to type and hate to write. And I'm sitting there at the picnic table, and I'm eating a pork belly sandwich and dirty Lardo fries. And I look over at Adam. I say, Adam, this food is so amazing. We got to start a website. I got to become a food writer and tell other idiots like me about food like this. And I was inspired by that. And a year later, when I said, I have nothing left to lose, I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to bootstrap my way to a new life. That's what I said I was going to do. And it was that food that said I can write about stuff like that. If I can find food like that and talk about it. So again, I'm grateful every day for you moving to Portland and the change that you brought into my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love that story, and I'm totally humbled by that. And your support over the years has been incredible. And to me, you just represent just a wealth of integrity and support. I just think it's awesome what you're doing. And
I find people I write that I love, and I write about it, and I talk about it and celebrate it. So just like you mentioned, Megan and Jeremy, to me, he's a culinary alchemist. He did some vanilla pickled beets once, and I'm like, what? And I ate it. I was like, oh my gosh. So it's a great cue. So thank you so much for joining us. Do you have anything else there for Ken there, Rick? For Rick there, Ken?
No, I don't. I think he's covered everything. He's getting good at it.
He is very good at it. So I think we should finish up here, and I think we should go have a pork belly sandwich and a cocktail at Lardo. I'll drink, you drive. That's the way it works.
Yeah, that's not going to happen today because you drove yourself. Uber.
All right. So, Rick, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.
Appreciate it.
As you've listened to the Great Food, Great Stories podcast on Portland Culinary Radio, thank you so much to Rick Gencarelli, founder of Lardo and Grassa, and many, many other things for being our first guest.
Thank you.
I'm Stephen Chalmers, your host, with Ken Wilson, the ultimate culinary wingman. And
That's me.
We are out of here. Take care.